from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening and welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Stefan Dialwis and joining me tonight is Sharifa Tahir. Gas distribution continues. Minister Basil says India agreed to extend support in all sectors. Agencies ready to engage in discussions with Sri Lanka, International Monetary Fund states. Steps taken to register essential commodity importers from India. Airstrike hit Lviv airfield in Ukraine. NASA prepares to experiment a power rocket. Now on our top story for this evening, Litro Gas has resumed the distribution of gas this morning. 80,000 gas cylinders have been issued to the market. Litro Gas Company said that over 3,500 metric tons of gas were unloaded into the country yesterday. The company has further indicated that the prevailing congestion to purchase gas is expected to ease in the next few days. Minister Gamini Lokugay meanwhile said that the country faces an issue pertaining to fuel distribution instead of a fuel shortage. Speaking at a media briefing held yesterday, the minister said that the prevailing congestion to purchase fuel is expected to ease in the following days, the distribution of fuel for filling stations in the next couple of days. Minister Gamini Lokugay said that they possess 20,000 tons in Kolonava and Mutturajavella. However, he said that there was a shortcoming in the distribution network due to recently held strike action launched by the container associations. He said that the prevailing situation will come to an ease within the next couple of days. Meanwhile, 12 zones experienced a power interruption of 5 hours today, while 4 hours and 35 minutes of power interruption persisted in 8 zones. Tomorrow, the power interruption for 12 zones will be about 3 hours and 45 minutes, while 8 zones expect to experience a power interruption of 3 hours. Well, Minister Basil Rajapaksa arrived into Sri Lanka today after a successful visit in India where $1 billion Indo-Lanka loan agreement was signed.
Minister Basil Rajapaksa arrived in the country today following a successful 2-day visit to India. During the visit, Sri Lanka and India signed the $1 billion Indo-Lanka loan agreement. The delegation, led by Minister Basil Rajapaksa, left for India on the 15th of March for a 2-day official visit. During the visit, Minister Rajapaksa called on Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Indian government has agreed to extend necessary assistance for the development of various sectors, including agriculture, renewable energy, digitalization, tourism and fisheries industries. Minister Basil Rajapaksa also met with Indian Minister of Power and New and Renewable Energy Sri Raj Kumar Singh. Discussions on a range of issues pertaining to bilateral cooperation in the power and energy sector were held during this meeting. The foremost objective of this official visit was to sign $1 billion Indo-Lanka loan agreement between the two nations. Accordingly, the agreement was signed yesterday at the Indian Ministry of Finance in New Delhi under the patronage of Minister Basil Rajapaksa, Indian Minister of Foreign Affairs S. Jaishankar and Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Secretary to the Finance Ministry S.R. Artigala signed the agreement on behalf of the Sri Lankan government, while Deputy General Manager of State Bank of India Sri Pushpakumar Jha signed on behalf of the State Bank of India. Minister Basil Rajapaksa said that neighbouring India has always maintained friendly relations with Sri Lanka. However, he said that the Indian Prime Minister mentioned that he will assist Sri Lanka with all necessary cooperative requirements, including economic, social and even in global agency levels. He said that the Indian government also agreed to assist Sri Lanka with its initiatives on organic cultivations and renewable energy sectors. The minister said that the Indian government also assisted Sri Lanka with $1 billion loan facility to purchase essential commodities commodities required for the public. He said the relevant negotiations were conducted in a transparent manner. Accordingly, the minister urged the business community to import necessary commodities from India and distribute among the consumers at fair rates. Responding to a query raised by a journalist, Minister Basil Rajapaksa said that no conditions were imposed over the loan agreement as the credit facility is for the purchasing of essential commodities.
International Monetary Fund says the agency is ready to begin negotiations to develop a program to extend assistance for Sri Lanka. IMF Media Director Jerry Rice made these remarks during a media briefing held last evening.
The question on Sri Lanka is really about any key takeaways from the visit to Colombo this week, and whether there's been any confirmation or specific for the bailout program is on everyone's minds right now, and also whether there is any possibility or any talks going on right now about including countries that are not low income into the framework. Sri Lanka would be one such country.
On Sri Lanka, clearly another country facing mounting economic challenges. In our Article 4 consultation recently, we just concluded the board meeting on that late last month, we highlighted the urgent need to implement a credible and a coherent strategy to restore macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability while protecting vulnerable groups through strengthened, well-targeted social safety nets. So that was our annual consultation with Sri Lanka, which we have with every country. Beyond that, I'm not in a position to share further details at this point, but I can tell you we stand ready to discuss all options for Sri Lanka. Thank you for your questions.
International Monetary Fund and Sri Lanka shares a close cooperation. The IMF had extended its support to Sri Lanka in order to ensure the economic stability of the island nation on various occasions in the past. Asia-Pacific Department Director of the International Monetary Fund, Cheng Yong Ri, held discussions with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in the beginning of this week.
In the meantime, applications have been called to register the importers of essential commodities from India for this year. The applications have been called up by the Ministry of Trade. Opportunity will be facilitated to import essential food commodities and pharmaceuticals, cement, apparel, animal food, material used for industries and specialized fertilizer varieties. The Ministry of Trade has informed that these commodities have been imported from India during last year, and new importers can also be registered under this program. Applications can be submitted through the portal www.trade.gov.lk until the 28th. The hard copies of the completed applications can be submitted to the Ministry of Trade via registered post or by hand before 3:30 p.m. on the stipulated deadline. More information in this regard can be obtained from the telephone numbers 076-256-6047. A special unit established at the third floor of the Trade Ministry to provide necessary procedural facilities for the applicants. Several telephone numbers have been introduced for each commodity. Accordingly, 071-824-6920 for essential food commodities, 077-372-1188 for essential pharmaceuticals, 077-150-5494 for apparel, 071-803-8954 for animal food, 070-293-9230 for material used for industries and cement, as well as 071-850-0592 for specialized fertilizer have been introduced for the applicants.
President of the Asian Cricket Council and Board of Control for Cricket in India's Secretary Jay Shah called on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat today. 40 representatives from Asian countries, including President of the ACC Jay Shah, are in Sri Lanka to attend the annual general meeting of the Asian Cricket Council. Minister of Youth and Sports Namal Rajapaksa, President of Sri Lanka Cricket Shammi Silva and its Chief Executive Officer Ashley De Silva were also present. Well, now with things escalating between Ukraine and Russia, what's really going on? Let's take a look at this story now in more detail.
Yes, so we take a look at what's happening in this current issue, which is quite viral. all around the globe right now. An aircraft maintenance plant close to Lviv has been hit with missiles. Meanwhile, oil prices jumped as ongoing talks between Ukraine and Russia failed to bring the sides closer towards a resolution to end the conflict.
It is the closest the war has come to the historic city in western Ukraine, which has been a safe haven for people fleeing fighting. Ukraine's military said the aircraft repair plant was struck by cruise missiles fired from the direction of the Black Sea, launched from heavy strategic bombers. The plant was not in operation at the time of the strike, and there were no casualties after at least 3 blasts, city authorities confirmed. Meanwhile, Russian strikes have also hit Kiev, Kharkiv and Kramatorsk in the east, Ukrainian officials said. About 30,000 civilians have fled Mariupol city so far, local authorities said. Mariupol City Hall said that 80% of residential housing was destroyed and about 350,000 residents were hiding in shelters and basements in Mariupol. Rescue workers continue to search desperately for any survivors buried beneath the rubble of Mariupol's bombed-out theatre. 24 hours after Mariupol's once gleaming whitewashed theatre was hollowed out by a Russian strike, the number of dead, injured or trapped is still unclear. In the meantime, US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said that he agreed with President Joe Biden that war crimes have been committed in Ukraine. US President Joe Biden expected to urge China not to provide Russia with military equipment in a call with President Xi Jinping later. Australia has placed sanctions on Russia's finance ministry and 11 additional banks and government organizations, covering the majority of the country's banking assets, along with all entities that handle Russia's sovereign debt. Japan also imposed new sanctions against 15 Russian individuals and 9 Russian groups, adding targets of new asset freeze sanctions also include Russian defense official and 2 lawmakers.
Political Affairs, Rosemary DiCarlo says the devastation and suffering in Mariupol and Kharkiv raises grave fears over the fate of the residents in Ukraine facing intensifying attacks.
Speaking during the 5th round of talks at the Security Council, former United States Ambassador to the United Nations DiCarlo noted that between February 24th and March 15th, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has recorded 1,900 civilian casualties.
The devastation and suffering in Mariupol and Kharkiv raises grave fears about the fate of millions of residents of Kiev and other cities facing intensifying attacks. International humanitarian law is crystal clear. Civilians are entitled to protection against the dangers arriving from military operations. Direct attacks on civilians are prohibited. Yet, the magnitude of civilian casualties and the destruction of civilian infrastructure in Ukraine cannot be denied. This demands a thorough investigation and accountability. The priority for the UN and its partners is to reach the people trapped by the ongoing shelling, including in eastern Ukraine. To that end, we continue to scale up our operations on the ground as circumstances permit. The needs of the population are growing by the day. The UN calls for safe passage for civilians from and humanitarian supplies into encircled areas.
With close to 2 million refugees from Ukraine, Poland has, in a matter of a few weeks, become one of the largest refugee hosting countries in the world. Some 490,000 people have fled to Romania, 350,000 to Moldova, 280,000 to Hungary, and 228,000 to Slovakia. Hundreds of thousands have now reached other European countries. A sizable number of people have also moved to the Russian Federation and to a smaller extent to Belarus.
WHO has verified 43 attacks on healthcare, with 12 people killed and 34 injured, including health workers. In any conflict, attacks on healthcare are a violation of international humanitarian law. WHO is on the ground working with the Ministry of Health and partners to support health workers and the health system to provide care to meet immediate health needs. So far, we have sent about 100 metric tons of medical supplies, including oxygen, insulin, surgical supplies, anesthetics, and blood transfusion kits, enough for 4,500 trauma patients and 450,000 primary healthcare patients for 1 month. Other equipment, including oxygen generators, electrical generators, and defibrillators, have also been delivered, and we're preparing to send a further 108 metric tons.
Well, more on local news updates. We have an update on the motorcycle parade. The police have said that the motorcycle parade from Kalpitia to Anuradhapura has been suspended. They have said that violation of conditions has been the reason for the suspension. The motorcycle parade, organized by the Private Motorcycle Society, which commenced yesterday, was scheduled to be concluded by tomorrow. The parade was organized as a part of the program to donate monetary fund to Maharagama Apeksha Hospital and distribute stationery items for students in Kalpitia area. The police have said that the permission was granted for the parade as the organization had made the request for a social welfare initiative obliged under the conditions and relevant government levies. However, the police have said that the parade was suspended due to the violation of relevant conditions and orders. The media unit of Minister Namal Rajapaksa has rejected the charges which had alleged that this parade was organized by the minister or the Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs. Sharing a statement on Facebook, the media unit has said that both the minister and the ministry have not extended any sort of sponsorship towards this parade. Meanwhile, Minister Namal Rajapaksa arrived in the country this morning following a foreign tour. Well, in the meantime, we move on with more local news updates, and this time it's about the distribution of 15 high-tech fire and emergency response service vehicles.
The distribution of 15 high-tech fire and emergency response services vehicles for local government institutions was held today. The event was held under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The value of the fleet is at 2,430 million rupees. The event was held at the Goldface Green site. The necessary financial assistance for this project was extended by Austria. The Fire Service Department of the Colombo Municipal Council performed an honorary salute and a fire service fleet parade in welcoming the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister officially handed over the high-tech fire and emergency response services vehicles to the heads of 14 municipal councils, urban councils and Pradesha Sabhas. Minister Janaka Bandara Tennakone, Governor of Western Province, Marshal of the Air Force Roshan Gunatilaka and state ministers were present at the occasion.
In the meantime, Socialist Youth Association of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna had organized a protest movement today. Tense situation occurred after the protesters attempted to enter into the presidential secretariat. The protesters marched from Technical College in Maradana to the presidential secretariat. The protest was organized demanding solutions for many issues, including the prevailing economic issue. Therefore, a severe traffic congestion occurred in Colombo Fort, Maradana and surrounding areas due to the protest march. The police and the special task force averted the attempts made by the protesters to enter into the presidential secretariat. Subsequently, the agitators protested in front of the presidential secretariat and dispersed after a short while. Well, continuing with more updates with regards to local news, Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna says even though they expected a proposal with some significance to the nation would be presented at a protest conducted under the leadership of opposition leader recently, but he only extended or ended up polluting the Goldface Green site.
Remarks were shared by both Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna and Samagi Janabalavega during media briefings held today. Parliamentarian Hector Apuhami said that as the Samagi Janabalavega, they launched their first step in this movement in front of the presidential secretariat.
ඉවරයි අන්තිමට එතෙන්ට ඇවිල්ලා අපි හිතුවා මේ මොකක් හරි යෝජනාවලියක් ඉදිරිපත් කරයි කියලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ රට පිළිබඳව වැඩසටහනක් ඔවුන්ගේ මතයක් ඉදිරිපත් කරයි කියලා.
Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna parliamentarian Milan Jayatilaka said that they expected a proposal with some significance to the nation would be presented at the protest conducted under the leadership of opposition leader recently, but he only ended up polluting the goal-faced green site. He added that the opposition leader should act in a more people-friendly manner under such situation. Well, Sri Lanka is certainly a land like no other. Currently, we have welcomed 250 female French tourists into the nation.
Exactly, and Stefan, this is an update with regards to an event which was held with the aim of letting all these tourists explore the beauty of the island nation. Today is the third day of the Raid Amazon's Tourist Sporting Festival, and the festival is taking place in Sigiriya's site. More than 250 French female participants have joined in this program. The festival commenced today with the 20-kilometer bike and run event. The event commenced from Sigiriya, Digampata area. The contestants were able to experience the beauty in the nature in Sigiriya historic site while paddling along an extreme conditioned road up to Kakirava. Sri Lanka Army and the police provided the necessary security for the contestants. Many entertaining programs were organized this evening. The contestants took part in the program held to educate them over Sri Lankan cuisine, organized by the Alia Resort with much enthusiasm. Connaissance de Ceylon Company is the local agent of this festival.
Sri Lanka? It's wonderful. It was a wonderful race with a wonderful landscape. We have seen the green forest, and in the middle the way was beautiful with this specific color, which was a little between red and yellow. It was just wonderful, and people were so nice, always smiling, always saying hello. So for us it was very, very emotional to see all these people supporting us. It was wonderful, just beautiful, really. And the welcome, all the people are welcoming us so nicely. So we love Sri Lanka.
Really great. Everybody is really kind, really friendly. You are always smiling, so it's wonderful. Thank you so much. It's a nice country.
Oh, it is just wonderful. We see very nice areas. It's really green and it's wonderful. Yes, we enjoy it. Sri Lanka, it's a very beautiful country and you can only enjoy it. Yes, and people are so kind with us.
It's really great to be here, and we really enjoy the food also and the weather. Hospitality, but it's great. We see all the people around the road, and they are yelling, they are applauding, and it's great.
Well, a quick update now on the third COVID-19 shot. Director of Lady Ridgeway Hospital for Children, Dr. G. Vijay Surya, emphasized the need to receive the third shot of the COVID-19 vaccine to prevent another surge in the country. He made these remarks while speaking to the media today.
Nowadays in Sri Lanka, we have noticed that number of new cases reported and number of deaths reported is coming down. Still, we can't relax. We have to pay our attention for the health instruction, as well as wear the mask, as well as get the vaccine. So we are asking all the people to get that recommended third dose vaccine, people who are above 20 years. In the same time, we can notice that some other countries, daily reported cases are going up. We are instructing all the parents that the recommended children, they have to give their vaccine. There are some myths that are publishing in the social media and some other media. Please don't believe these false news and some other things are published in the media. The vaccine don't have such a amount of side effects. Actually, we have noticed that day before yesterday there is only one death reported in Sri Lanka, and yesterday there are 3 cases. That may fluctuate in future. At the moment, we have noticed that ICU utilization also going down, and daily cases reported around less than 500. That means usually 300 to 400 cases are reporting. Number of cases reported in per day is usually less than 5. This level we can somehow minimize if we are adhering to the health instructions.
In the meantime, Gary Peace and Sustainable Development Symposium 2022 commenced in Colombo today. The symposium was organized by Global Academic Research Institute. The main objective of this conference is to create a global platform where the universal knowledge can be shared across geographical as well as cultural boundaries. This conference is observed as an opportunity for academics and practitioners to share knowledge in several disciplines. Sri Lankan and foreign university delegates took part in this event.
A program to popularize local batik clothing among state sector employees commenced today. The program was initiated jointly by State Ministry of Batik, Handloom and Local Apparel Products and Ministry of Industries. This project was initiated under the Be Sri Lankan program to promote batik and local handloom apparel products in the country. The aim of this project is to encourage state sector employees to report to work wearing local batik clothing at least 1 day a week. Commencing the program, employees of State Ministry of Batik, Handloom and Local Apparel Products reported to duty today while being dressed in local apparel clothing. The aim of this program is to create a positive attitude over local products, to create a market and a massive promotion for local products. It's time for a quick break. We will be back with international news.
Prima Stella Set Yogurt. Be healthy, be active and be safe.
இதுவே எல்லாத்துக்கும் முடிவா இருக்கட்டும். இனி ஒரு புதிய வாழ்க்கையை ஆரம்பிப்போம்.
இந்த மாதிரி பயலாம வேலை செய்ய காரணம் பூஸ்டர். நீங்களும் பூஸ்டர் தடுப்பூசியை போட்டு உங்களையும் சமூகத்தையும் பாதுகாத்துக்கணும்.
Welcome back. And well, in international news, NASA prepares launch for what is expected to be the world's most powerful space rocket.
It left the Kennedy Space Center's Vehicle Assembly Building around 5:47 p.m. Eastern Time and began an 11-hour journey on a crawler transported to the hallowed launch complex 39B, 6.5 kilometers away. Around 10,000 people had gathered to watch the event. With the Orion crew capsule fixed on top, the Space Launch System Block 1 stands 322 feet high, taller than the Statue of Liberty, but a little smaller than the 363 feet Saturn V rocket that powered the Apollo missions to the moon. Despite this, it will produce 8.8 million pounds of maximum thrust, 15% more than the Saturn V, meaning it's expected to be the world's most powerful rocket at the time it begins operating. NASA is targeting May as the earliest window for Artemis 1. Well, Stefan, Holi is just around the corner and our neighboring country is getting ready for this festival, isn't it?
Absolutely. Colourful festivities to mark Holi are underway. Unburdened by coronavirus fears for the first time in 3 years, the Spring Festival sees millions across the country hurl coloured powder at each other in a kaleidoscopic celebration of the end of winter. with winter finally coming to an end, millions of Hindu people in India and other parts of the world are gearing up for one of the most joyous celebrations of the year. That celebration is Holi, the Hindu festival of love, colour and spring. It's a time when Indians don simple, inexpensive clothes and take to the street to drench each other in clouds of coloured powder and buckets of water. There's singing, dancing and of course food. But in some parts of India, communities begin the festivities by lighting bonfires in the night. Before, in a celebration known as Holika Dahan or Chotti Holi, the bonfires are a nod to one of the most well-known legends associated with the festival. The story goes something like this. The demon king Hiranyakashipu, who wanted to be worshipped as a god, became angry that his son Prahalad was instead a devotee of the deity Vishnu, the preserver and protector of the universe. In turn, Hiranyakashipu considered with his sister Holika to kill his son. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today greeted people on the occasion of Holi and wished that the festival brings every colour of happiness in their lives. Back, and now a look at sports news. The Bhaga Bandhu Trophy International Kabaddi Championship is set to begin tomorrow. Sri Lanka faces their first opponent, Malaysia.
The tournament will be held with the participation of 8 countries. Accordingly, Sri Lanka will participate in the tournament along with Bangladesh, England, Kenya, Nepal, Iraq, Malaysia and Indonesia. Sri Lanka is set to compete against Malaysia tomorrow and then face against England on the 20th. Sri Lanka will compete against Bangladesh on the 21st. Captain of the Sri Lankan side is Lahiru Sampath. The tournament will be held until the 24th. The qualification round of the Asian region for the 2022 Commonwealth Beach Volleyball Championship commenced at the Negombo Beach Park today. Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Singapore and Maldives are competing in this tournament. Accordingly, Sri Lanka men's team competed against Maldives this morning and won the match by 2-0. Javelin secured the championship of the Under-19 Interclub Football Championship. They managed to become champions after defeating Colombo Football Club in the finals. The finals was held at the Colombo City League Football Stadium yesterday. Javelin won the game by 5-3 in penalties.
Now, to all the basketball fans, the Avant Super Cup 2022 is also set to commence tomorrow.
The tournament will be held under A and B categories. 10 teams will take part in the men's tournament and 4 teams in the women's tournament under the A category. All matches under this category will be held at the Sugata Dasa Indoor Stadium today. Colombo. Meanwhile, 16 teams will take part in the men's tournament and 4 teams in the women's tournament under the B category. All matches under this category will be held at the Royal College Basketball Court. Avant Super Cup 2022 Basketball Championship Finals will be held on the 2nd of April at the Sukadasa Indoor Stadium, Colombo. And with that, it's time for us to conclude this bulletin of news. Together with Stefan, I'm Sharifa wishing you a very pleasant night.